Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in amma ba'd. So to continue with where we left off in the fiqh of Ramadan, of fasting, just to finish a couple of masail before we continue with those things that break the fast that we began yesterday, and that is with regards to intercourse. I don't remember if I mentioned it or not, but if a person had intercourse in the month of Ramadan, then he had intercourse again. What do we do here? We say if he had intercourse and he did kaffara, and then he did intercourse again, he has to do kaffara again. So therefore, there's no slaves anymore. So a person, if he has to fast, it's not possible to do the kaffara in Ramadan. But if he fed people and he fed 60 people immediately and then he did intercourse again, then we say he has to feed again. Number one. Number two, if he didn't do the kaffara and he did intercourse again and again and again when it's haram, if he didn't do kaffara, then there's one kaffara. You don't say I did intercourse 3 times, so there's 3 kaffara. I have to fast 180 days. No, you fast 60 days still. 60 days still, number one. So that's how it works with that. Then if a person didn't fast in Ramadan, if he didn't fast in Ramadan for a valid reason or invalid reason, then he has qadha. Now after the month of Ramadan, we look how many days does he have qadha. Let's say he didn't fast, he was traveling or sick or whatever it may be, 7-8 days. Now after Ramadan, if he should try and fast as soon as he can to get the qadha done. That's what he should try and do. Is it a must? It's not a must, but he should. And he should try double to make sure he gets it done before the next Ramadan. Why? Because many scholars say that if another Ramadan comes in and you didn't fast your qadha fasts and you had a chance to fast them and the next Ramadan came in, then after that Ramadan you still have to do the qadha, that's 7 or 8 days, but you also have to feed one poor person for every day you didn't fast. Okay, what does that? That means that if you hadn't fasted 7 days, after that first Ramadan, you were healthy for 7 days. You were healthy for 7 days. Then you got sick or you traveled for the rest of the year. And then the next Ramadan came in. There we'd say in that case, you are not excused. You are not excused because you had 7 healthy days. So you are not excused. Now after that Ramadan, you must fast. And also, how many days didn't you fast? 7 days. So you have to feed one poor person 1.5 kgs of food, the worth or the food, the staple of the country, for every day you didn't fast. So you have to give 7. Or let's say you fasted 3 days. You were healthy for 10 days and you fasted 3, then you traveled. So how many left? 4. So you have to then fast the 4 after the next Ramadan and feed 4 poor people for that. Some of the scholars say so. Others don't, but out of precaution, make sure you do your qadha before the next Ramadan. And where's another mas'ala that more so applies in the case where you had those 7 healthy days. Now if you died, therefore we say, let's say you didn't have 7 healthy days. Ramadan passed, you didn't fast 7 days and you didn't get a chance after that Ramadan to fast them. Why? Because you were sick until the next Ramadan, or you were traveling, or you died before 7 days. That's the first situation, before 7 days. Then in that case, do we have to feed one poor person from your estate 1.5 kgs and take out that kaffara because you didn't fast? The answer is no. But if those 7 days passed, then your heirs have to take out 1.5 kg, the worth of, take the money and buy the food to feed the poor people for 7 days. Not 7 poor people, but you have to ensure that you've given the amount for 7 days, even to one poor person. So therefore, if you didn't live for 7 days, or you lived, let's say, for 3 days, you lived for 3 days healthy, then how many days did you didn't fast? Then you've fallen short of 3 days. And like that, that's how it will work. That's how it will work. But if you were sick all along, then you were sick or you traveled all along, you didn't get a chance before the next Ramadan to fast. Then Ramadan came, you fasted the next one, then after Ramadan you just do qadha. Or if you died, then there's nothing to take out from your estate. So that's important to know that mas'ala. Important to know that mas'ala. And if a person died and he didn't do kaffara or he didn't do oath fasts, then what happens? For kaffara, he had kaffara for taking oaths, or kaffara for killing somebody, or kaffara for intercourse, etc., and he didn't fast, then you have to take out from his estate. From any kaffara that he had to do, you have to take out from his estate. Otherwise, and he was able to fast and he was healthy. So that's important to know with that. Then back to our main masail, and that is what breaks the fast. We mentioned yesterday that the simple principle to know with regards to eating and drinking and those things, the simple principle to know is that what goes into your body from your mouth or nose, if it is edible or not, nutritional or not, as long as you are conscious as it went down your throat, and we mentioned where's the throat with the kha, in your mouth or your nose, then that will break the fast. It happened with you conscious and were able to stop it, then your fast is broken. Therefore, if you're not able to stop it, then your fast is not broken. You were gargling your mouth in wudu and you swallowed, it was unintentional. You went for a swim, you are allowed to go for a swim and you swallowed water unintentionally, it doesn't break your fast. Or something else that can break the fast, sometimes the people, when they smell things, it goes into your throat. You smell perfume, or you go into the kitchen and you smell the food. If you didn't intentionally go and smell the pot and then you tasted it here, then your fast is valid. Your fast is valid. If you didn't intentionally, yes. But if you go intentionally, you sniff, and then it tasted here, that means it went through your nose and inside. And something is here because some particles went into your nose, that will break your fast. So then anywhere else in your body, if something goes into your body and it doesn't have no nutrition, then your fast is valid. Any other part of your body. Something goes inside, it's permissible to do those things in the day of Ramadan if they're not nutritional. Permissible to do it, and you know qadha and your fast doesn't break. If you need to do it, then it's permissible anyway, but there's qadha if it's nutritional. So that's important to know that. So therefore, that covers that. Then a few other things that break the fast. The scholars say if a person causes himself to vomit. So vomiting does not break the fast, just vomiting. It overcame you. But intending to vomit, making yourself vomit, that will break the fast. Even if it's a small amount that came into your throat. If it came in beyond that kha that we said yesterday, then it will break your throat, break your fast. So making yourself vomit is like how? Like looking at this thing will make you nauseous and vomit. Or smelling this thing will make you nauseous. Or putting your finger down your throat, it will make you vomit. Or you press your tummy in a manner that it may get you to vomit, then this is counting as you causing yourself to vomit. But what if, for example, you're feeling and you know that if you stand up, for example, you'll vomit. Or you sit down, you'll vomit. Then you stand up and you vomited. Does that count as making yourself vomit? The answer is no. Because generally that is not something that makes you vomit. Compared to looking at something or smelling something that generally makes a person vomit, then that is different. Another thing that we'll say is istimna. If a person were to we mentioned intercourse breaking the fast. But now if a person, we mentioned touching your wife in the previous lesson, touching your wife, alaikum salam, or touching a female in Ramadan, where does it break the fast and what gets released? If a person masturbates in the day in Ramadan and he releases mani, not madhi, his fast will be broken. If he touches the spouse or opposite gender without intercourse and he released mani, his fast will be broken. If he had a wet dream in the day in Ramadan, his fast will not be broken. If he looked at something that aroused him, and he had one look, and he released mani or madhi, his fast is intact. No problem. No problem in terms of fasting. Okay. And if he looked, they say karrar an-nazar. He looked more than once at something that aroused him, and he released mani. Not madhi. Madhi is the pre-seminal fluid that just comes out when a person is aroused. The other one comes out like when you squirt. Then if that comes out because you've looked more than once, then your fast is broken. Otherwise it's not broken. And then, therefore, if we just were to, all of these things, you must be conscious of your fast and you must have not been forced to do something that broke your fast. Otherwise, your fast will not be broken. Also, there's a couple of things we can mention, but this is a shorter dars. Therefore, we mention a lot of masail and contemporary masail in the other lessons. The first ones we did on the playlist on the channel, that a person can go there with timestamps. If they want to see exactly for the masail. We mentioned a lot of masail and a lot of sunan for fasting and things like that. So this is a quicker dars, so if there's more details, I'd probably find it there. We covered it in a lot of detail. But if you were to mention a few other things, can a person, for example, brush his teeth in the day in Ramadan, for example? If a person, we have to understand that the mouth, until where the kha comes out, the mouth is deemed as the outer part of your body. The mouth is deemed the outer part of your body. Your nostrils, until up there, is deemed outside of your body. That's why in wudu you can gargle your mouth while fasting. So if you put something into your mouth without getting it beyond your throat, your fast is valid. So therefore, can you brush your teeth in Ramadan with toothpaste? The answer is yes. As long as you do not swallow. So therefore, you have to be extra careful. Use a little bit of toothpaste, or try and maybe put your head in front so you make sure nothing gets swallowed. If you did swallow unintentionally, your fast is not broken. So therefore, just be careful, but you can do that. You can brush your teeth. We can say at most it will be makruh because of the possibility to swallow. So then that's permissible, but be careful on that. And you can, for example, taste food in Ramadan. You can taste food like somebody who cooks. You want to taste the salt or something in there, permissible. But also be careful not to taste. Meaning not to get the taste in your throat. If you do get the taste in your throat, or a mother is feeding a child and she needs to chew the food, permissible. If someone is feeding their child and they need to chew the food to give the baby, it's permissible to do so. And if you taste it in your mouth unintentionally, then what do? You try and gargle or spit out so the taste goes. And if you've done that and the taste is gone, your fast is okay. And if you've done that and the taste is still there, your fast is still okay. Then we can mention another few things. Let's try and any questions that come to mind, then we can answer it, because before we basically got just a couple of things left, like i'tikaf, but I'm trying to think of masail and sunan that we can mention here. So we can mention another thing. If a person is doubting whether suhoor has ended, fajr time has ended, can he eat or not? We say he can eat until you're sure the time has struck. So when you're working with the timetables, many times in many places for Ramadan they send out a timetable. That is the timetable from your country, you follow that. You don't need to go anywhere further. If the time is 4:52 that suhoor ends and fajr comes in, then you work with that time. You have to make sure you are done eating by that time. If you've eaten after that time intentionally, meaning you know you've eaten and you know the time is gone, then we say your fast is broken, you have to do qadha. And for the rest of that day, you're not allowed to eat. You can't say it was a mistake. You're allowed to, if you ate forgetfully in the day in Ramadan, you ate forgetfully, your fast is valid. فَمَنْ أَكَلَ أَوْ شَرِبَ نَاسِيًا فَلْيُتِمَّ صَوْمَهُ فَإِنَّمَا أَطْعَمَهُ اللَّهُ وَسَقَاهُ. That if a person ate or drank forgetfully in the day in Ramadan, then let him finish his fast, because Allah Azza wa Jal gave him food and drink. So if you drank water, not realizing it's Ramadan, or day one in Ramadan, you just went and you just ate something, nibbled like you usually do, and then you realize you're fasting, your fast is valid. It's okay. So that is where it's overlooked. So the sunnah is to finish your suhoor around 8 to 10 minutes before the time. That comes from Zayd bin Thabit, where he says that between our time of fajr and suhoor is the time to recite 30 verses of the Quran. So that's around 8 to 10 minutes, we'd say that. So if you finish 10 minutes before the time, that's perfect. But you're allowed to eat until the time comes in. And if you are doubting whether the sun has set, let's say you can't hear the mu'adhin, and you can't see the time, and you are doubting, then you make sure you have to wait until you're sure the time has come. So in the morning we say you can eat until you're sure the time is over. For the evening, for iftar, you have to not eat until you're sure the time is in. The difference between the two. Why? Because the first one, it was night. So the default is it's night, not day came in. And in the day, the default is day. So we have to be sure the day is over, and we have to be sure the night is over. So that's how it would work. And therefore, if we mention a couple of sunnah of fasting of suhoor, it is the time of suhoor, to get the reward of suhoor is after half the night. So you take the time of maghrib and the time fajr comes in, see the hours and divide it in half. If it's 7 hours 33 minutes, for example, then you say 3.5 hours and 33. Sheikh, you're very good at maths. What is that? Yeah, since you were the man, what 17, around there, 16.5. Then you conclude just under 4 hours is half the night. After that time, suhoor comes in. If you ate then it will be the sunnah. And at suhoor, you will get the reward whether you eat or drink, whether it's a large amount or small amount. So just a sip of water, you'll get the barakah of suhoor. You'll get the reward of suhoor and you'll get the barakah of suhoor. And even better is if you eat something. Because Rasulullah ﷺ said the difference between our fast and the fast of the Ahlul Kitab is aklatu sahar, is to eat the suhoor, to eat suhoor. So if you had something small to eat, then you get more of the reward. Then, okay, and therefore another thing, the sunnah at iftar, there's a sunnah during your fasting is to supplicate. Dua is a higher chance of being accepted while fasting. That's something to remember. And at iftar, there's an even higher chance that your dua be answered. So a person should increase in his dua in the day while fasting, and also before breaking his fast. When to feed the fasting person is rewarding, extremely rewarding. Rasulullah ﷺ said you get the reward like the reward of the fasting person. And you feed the fasting person even with something small, even if you water, even with a date, you'll get the reward. More reward, some of the scholars say, if you feed somebody until they are satiated. That's the second opinion. Until they are satiated. meaning they're not hungry anymore. Then the third one is when they are full. So if a person can feed, the more he can feed, the better. But the reward will be, the main reward, if you just gave somebody to eat iftar, then you'll get all of that reward. Then the last thing with Ramadan that comes to mind, anything about breaking the fast or things like that, any questions? But the last thing we'll mention is that one of the biggest sunnah to do in Ramadan is to do i'tikaf. I'tikaf means to spend extra time in the mosque. Extra time in the mosque, it must be a mosque and it's with the intention of doing ibadah. So you can't intend i'tikaf and your intention is what? To take a nap in the mosque, that you don't get the reward. You have to come to the mosque where your main intention is ibadah. Then if you sleep secondary, you get the reward. But your main intention is what? Is to spend time in the mosque. Then if you come to a mosque, you should intend i'tikaf in general at all times. It's more of a sunnah in Ramadan, it's more of a sunnah in the last 10 nights in Ramadan. It's more of a sunnah in the last 10 nights in Ramadan. I'tikaf is only valid in a mosque. Only valid in a mosque. Most of the scholars say even for a female it's only valid in the mosque. The Hanafi differ. More details on i'tikaf, you can go back to that playlist that I mentioned. There's a lot of fiqh there. Then when it comes to i'tikaf, if a person just comes for i'tikaf in the last 10 nights of Ramadan or something, that is sunnah i'tikaf according to most of the scholars. So sunnah i'tikaf means you can leave whenever you want. You can leave whenever you want. If you're in the mosque, you can go home to eat. You can go home to the bathroom, come back. It's all fine, no problem. Your reward will be less because of the time you're not in the mosque, but it doesn't affect. You don't have to do qadha or anything like that. So that's important to remember. Any i'tikaf, the scholars say a person should try and engage in as much of ibadah as he can do, and also not engage in things that are not beneficial to him. Unnecessary talking and things like that. It's not beneficial to him. That he should leave out those things. So he should try and use the time of Ramadan for increasing ibadah, increasing the Quran, and Laylatul Qadr in the last 10 nights in Ramadan, and more so on the odd nights in Ramadan, a person should look for those nights. And the best thing to do at a time of worship is those things that are narrated. So when you be saying Laylatul Qadr, one of the odd nights, what's the best thing to do on those nights? The best thing to do is to do those things that are narrated. So since it's the best night, does it mean it means that actions are more virtuous on that night? So let's say it's 27. It's virtuous to, for example, go to the graveyard. You can go to the graveyard, permissible. But is it better to go to the graveyard, for example, or to go to the graveyard or to recite Quran? On this night specifically, Quran is more virtuous. So if you have the options, why rather be in i'tikaf and recite Quran, or be in i'tikaf or go to the graveyard? Both are good. For this night, what is better? What is narrated? What is narrated? To be in i'tikaf, to be performing qiyamul layl, to be reciting the Quran, to be engaging in dua. These four things are the most virtuous things to do in Laylatul Qadr. Reciting the Quran, qiyamul layl, i'tikaf and dua. So that's what a person should try and make sure he does those things in the nights of Laylatul Qadr. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to teach us that which benefits us and benefit us with that which teaches us. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.